The NFL hot stove, it's heating up. Yeah, we're stealing it, baseball. You don't do anything. So it's the NFL free agency. It's headed your way, less than days away. But we can't stop talking about who's available and who would make the best fit for the Cardinals.
Yeah, this show manifested it. Christian Kirk, he's been cut. Is a reunion on the horizon for the Arizona Cardinals? Plus, is Steve Keim repping Milton Williams? Dear God. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, number one. Download and subscribe to PHNX Cardinals, Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. We're number one for a reason. It's because of my co-host right here, Brack in Studio K, and our phenomenal producer, Damon Dawg, behind the mic. And speaking of cooking things up here, free agency rocking and rolling starts officially in 5 days, but trades on trades, releases, right? Teases by teams, basically rip the Band-Aid off now, Brack. We're in full effect the 2025 start of the league year.
We sure are. I mean, and we could see movement pre-free agency potentially. And that's just music to this show's ears. If there's a big splash move, even before the tampering period next Monday, vices will be back in full effect. I will be guzzling caffeine by the gallonful. Johnny will be just putting down, smashing just any sweet treat he can find into his face. And Damon's just going to be back dormant on the couch, idle. He's never going to pick up a weight again. He's never going to do any kind of cardio. He's not going to be about that healthy lifestyle after this. But let's say hello to everybody in the chat. I see you. Thank you for joining us. Giro Fiero, I see you. He says, what's up, Johnny and Bo? Also, Shaft K2, Michael Meyer, AC Jace, Dana. Love to see Dana here. Dylan Richards, love to see you back in the live chat. Biscuits in the Bear, good friend of the program. Mr. Fat Gangster, Tim. See everybody there. Gage, I don't want to leave anybody out, but I can't go through all of you because we've already got over 150 and climbing to start things out.
First world problems. We love all of you, and there's no better time to be locked into this podcast ahead of next week. We had reported on the show about 3 months ago that the Arizona Cardinals had attempted to trade for Maxx Crosby ahead of the NFL trade deadline. They offered, I'm being told, multiple ones in the process, or at least had that conversation. They were declined. The GM for the Raiders was fired, and it led a lot of us, me, to believe that Maxx Crosby could be available. And then we fast forward to the Super Bowl media week. He's telling everybody he's staying. He's got a walking boot on. And then it came out today, Bo, that the Raiders, with no quarterback, no real plan in place, let's be fair. Pete Carroll's 100 years old coaching that team. They gave Maxx Crosby the biggest contract for a non-quarterback in NFL history. And I like Maxx Crosby.
Yeah.
I think the overwhelming consensus by Cardinal fans is that's a gross contract. It's gross.
Look, I mean, they're desperate times call for desperate measures for a team like the Raiders, who are just trying to keep, their fan base engaged after they just had another dumpster fire of a season. And Maxx Crosby kind of making a little bit noise this offseason. You got to keep him healthy. You got to keep him happy. He's a guy that plays a premium position, and it's going to cost you a premium price tag in order to do that. You think back to Budda Baker requesting a trade after the regime change a couple of years ago when JG came in. Like, you can only endure so much losing. And the only way to do that is the way to make them happy without, a clear light at the end of the tunnel as far as getting the Raiders back to relevancy. Winning football games is to spruce him up with the almighty dollar and throw some funds his way. So Maxx Crosby, the happiest guy in a walking boot on the face of the planet right now.
So much going on. Crosby resigns, and then we woke up to the news today. Joe Thuney is leaving the Kansas City Chiefs in way of Chicago. So Chicago, in the span of 2 days, trades multiple picks, a 6th this year and a 4th next year for the combination of Jonah Jackson and now Thuney going from Kansas City, protecting Caleb Williams. We were talking before the show. I like that move. Fine for Chicago. He's 32 years old. You and Damon, a little bit bigger fans of the move. Old offensive linemen, I have a stigma against because I watched the Cardinals do it so many times with the likes of Rodney Hudson, paying an older Mike Iupati. Like, to me, what the Cardinals did last year, and this is not a bias, this is how I truly feel, the Isaiah Adams route. Develop a guy, have a plan for the player, get him in late in the season, and then they're excited. We talked to Jonathan Gannon. He said he's fired up for Isaiah Adams this year. I just think that that's the smart move. And I think what the Bears are trying to do, Bo, is a quick, expensive fix. And I've seen ex-Steve Keim, who we're going to talk about here in a second, fail with that too many times. Am I wrong here?
No, you're right about the latter of that. But as far as trying to downplay the impact that Joe Thuney has, this is coming off a season where he gave up 0 penalties and 1,100 snaps and 0 sacks. Is that good? When you talk about trying to find a guy who's just going to solidify the interior offensive line, that's him. And the price tag that it cost the Bears, it really wasn't that much.
No, it's a good.
That's what it's exchanged for a 2026 4th round pick. That's nothing.
Listen, it's not. It's a good.
Pro.
It's a good move for Chicago because they're not paying Caleb Williams.
That's a good move for any team, man. That's a good move for any team. And I understand it as far as what, like, everybody's saying, well, he's 32. The Chiefs, maybe they know something. No, the Chiefs, they're just turning to a guy who they just are going to pay the bag to,
right.
and Trey Smith, who's just 5 years younger than Joe Thuney. Like, you can't pay everybody, and that's what the Chiefs are realizing, and had to make a tough decision. And they went, with the guy 26 years old and Trey Smith in place of Joe Thuney, and they made up some salary cap space. But look, man, Chiefs trading to the Bears for a 2026 4th round pick, that's highway robbery. The Bears benefited from the Chiefs kind of panicking post, trying to figure out this deal for Trey Smith.
The Super Bowl performance, they're like, let's just take a bulldozer to this. But no, he's a great player. It's not how I've watched this team try to team build like that. Granted, maybe not with the Joe Thuney, but
it's not team building with it. It's inserting and plugging and playing a guy coming off, giving up, surrendering 0 sacks, and not being penalized at all. The cream of the guard crop in the NFL, and you've got him with 2 guys that you already, like you mentioned, Isaiah Adams, a guy you drafted in the 3rd round, and then you got Paris Johnson Jr. at your left tackle. Like, it doesn't stunt your ability to continue to draft and develop your offensive line and have an eye forward. I just think at some point, and as we've been talking about all off season long, is really kind of putting your chips in the middle of the table as far as these upcoming seasons.
Yeah,
it really doesn't hamper your ability. I just think I saw the price tag that you got him for. Like, otherwise I would be with you. Like, let's get in a little bit younger at that position. But man, he's talk about a war daddy guard, man. That's Joe Thuney.
He is, and again, he's played a lot, whereas Jonah Jackson's missed significant time each of the last 2 years. But the familiarity there with Ben Johnson, I don't anticipate like the Cardinals needing to do that kind of move. I think that it's more prevalent. I would rather see them trade a 4th rounder next year on Jonathan Allen or somebody like that, where if you're trading picks for players, it needs to be on the defensive line. As Shaft points it out in the chat, I think really well, is Evan Brown was solid last year. He gave up 2 sacks and 1 penalty. He was not Joe Thuney by any stretch of the imagination, but he was a solid. What are we doing?
Come on, guys? Damon, can you be the voice of reason here? The guy, all pro bowler, 0 sacks, 0 penalties.
The Cardinals,
he's a 4-time Super Bowl winning guard.
Can I have the floor? The Cardinals ran the ball almost as well as any team in the NFL last year. The Cardinals' pass protection was elite. They gave up 30 sacks last year. I'm up on the notion that the Cardinals need a big ticket left guard. I don't want somebody in their 30s paying big money to. All the attention and the resources.
You want to pay Hassan Reddick?
No. Can we? Yes, but what's the comp there? Who do you have? The Cardinals are not bare bones on their offensive line.
It's a 2026. It's not even this year's draft 4th round pick. It's basically a 5th rounder.
For the Chicago Bears, though, that could be a high pick in the 4th round. But no, it's not so much the pick.
Just say that it would have been a good move for the Cardinals to make. You can agree with that. If you want the floor, get off the floor. If you're not going to agree that you would want Joe Thuney for a 2026 4th rounder.
If the Cardinals made that move, Johnny's leading the show with like, guys, we just did it. The missing piece to being.
I don't think the Cardinals benefit historically from getting old offensive linemen.
Stop looking at the sins of Monti Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon, and his predecessors as an indictment on the current regime.
Old and slow. Should we segue into that?
Yeah, because I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk in circles about this.
I just want to real quick. I want to say I've seen a lot of studies. I brought this up on the show before that like on a graph PFF rating compared to age for offensive linemen, and I think that 30-year-old area is kind of the sweet spot. I know Thuney's a little bit above that, but having offensive linemen that are physically mature enough is what makes them, I guess, like peak at the right time. So I don't subscribe to the notion that like you need a bunch of young offensive linemen. I actually think getting older guys is kind of the way to go.
I mean, Yeldon Frohold's 27.
Perfect.
Paris Johnson Jr. is going into his 3rd season.
I think
Isaiah
28
Adams
was peak.
Yeah. Isaiah Adams is going into his 2nd season. You can stand to have a vet on that offensive
I think
line.
I'm just impartial about can I just kind of be lukewarm about the move? I think it was solid. This is a solid move.
There you go. Okay.
The Cardinals trying to aim a bigger level than solid next week when free agency kicks off. No, we got to leave it on the screen here. So I was tagged like 3 times this afternoon. Steve Keim, ex-GM for the Arizona Cardinals, was on with Colin Cowherd. I could not find the clip, or I would have embedded the clip or cut the clip, and basically came out and said that he is repping Milton Williams ahead of free agency.
Yeah.
Now, Milton Williams is a part of Clutch Sports. I think Milton Williams was with Clutch Sports before Steve Keim got there, I think. And to be fair, a lot of Eagles, current and former, are with Clutch Sports. But for Keim to go on national TV today with his buddy Colin Cowherd and say, I'm repping Milton Williams, I'm going to ask you, because I posted it for interpretation. A lot of people didn't understand what the tweet was about. Bo, could this hamper the Cardinals' ability to sign Milton Williams?
I think it could. Ultimately, I don't think it will. But I wouldn't put anything past Keim. But if he's gonna hold a grudge against an organization that gave him everything he wanted and more, he had spent 2 decades at working for the Cardinals, 10 of which he was the GM, and he probably didn't deserve to be the GM for the latter half of that. You know, if he's going to be the one that's going to hold the grudge, that's going to hamper his ability to get the best deal for his clients. And so that's why I'm not too concerned about it. You know, I don't think so. I think he's going to try to get the best deal for Milton Williams and puff his chest out because he understands that that's going to benefit him, Clutch Sports, and all their clientele.
If Keim can take more money from the Cardinals, he will. A percentage based.
Great point.
I think that the presence of Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon for Milton Williams should be a trump card on top of living in Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, North Phoenix, over New England, Boston, Mass, especially this time of the year. No disrespect. If Keim wants to come out and besmirch and belittle the Cardinal organization, Milton Williams, just pick up the phone and call your former defensive coordinator.
Right.
And say, hey, we're going to give you a better offer than anybody, which I think that's what this comes down to anyway. And we're going to have an insider on the show to talk about it more tomorrow. We'll talk about that later in the show. I firmly believe that Milton Williams is going to play for the team that pays him the most money.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Cardinals pay him the most money and offer it, he's going to take that deal. If by chance, the 1% chance that the Cardinals offer him more than in New England or whomever, and he decides not to come here, then I think we all can sit back and say, well, they gave it their best effort, right? And we'll move on. Maybe Steve Keim was a deterrent. If I had to put a percentage on that, though, of Steve Keim like really kind of imploding this for the Cardinals, if Milton Williams is their number one target, which we believe he is, I'd put the percentage very low. I think at the end of the day, is it uncomfortable? Sure. Monti Ossenfort's a big boy, though. He and Gannon, you know, Michael Bidwell's not involved with these negotiations, right? This is Gannon and Ossenfort in a war room with their pro scouts trying to get this done because they believe it can better their team. Hopefully, Keim is not overly involved.
Well, let me flip it though. Does it play to the Cardinals' advantage that Steve Keim is his agent or is his representation?
Oh wow, I like where your head's at there.
Because we saw during the end of his tenure with the Cards, we saw DJ Humphries and Marcus Golden, and all these hold-ins, and the Cardinals behind Keim cater to and cave in to every single one of their demands. I think that you could, with obviously knowing Bidwell, who knows Keim better than anybody, would you have an advantage? Could you, and also could you, with Bidwell in that relationship, would you be able to maybe get yourself in front of Milton Williams representation easier than some of these other teams? Like, hey man, like we kind of turn a blind eye to some things around here. At least give me a meeting. Let's talk about this, and let's try to make Milton Williams the highest paid defensive tackle on the market this offseason.
Where does
the same thing?
Where does Steve live right now?
Arizona.
So he's going to be like, oh, Arizona's not that great. Go live in Massachusetts. It's like, no, Steve still lives here, right? I think that's a benefit for sure. I also think, I don't know if you're going to be able to take advantage of Keim in negotiations. I'll be fair. Keim did his best work in the negotiation period this time of year, trading for Chandler Jones, trading for DeAndre Hopkins. Like, this is probably what he's most comfortable at. Maybe this is the best role for him. Where he was atrocious, vomit-inducing, was April's draft. Sure. So as long as it has nothing to do with picking first-year players at the collegiate level, like I think he's well equipped to do this. But
I don't know if free agency was his strong suit. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think
maybe early on, yeah.
The trade market was really where he thrived.
I mean, he gave Sam Sad for 20.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the end right there. Should have known right away. Once that was their successor to Carson Palmer, and Drew Stanton was the tandem of Sam Bradford and drafting Josh Rosen.
Here's what I do know that cannot be argued, is that Colin Cowherd continually knocks the Cardinal organization and uses a singular source, and we all know who that source is. Mm-hmm. So Keim has no issue using Cowherd or whomever as a mouthpiece to trash the Cardinals. You wouldn't believe what the Cardinals do behind the scenes, and some of you might be like, sure, that's fair. Look at all the stuff that comes out. All I'm saying is, like, there's probably a likelihood that he's going to tell Milton Williams, hey, Cardinals facilities, not very good, right? Hey, historically, Cardinals maybe haven't treated their players the best, right? But money talks. And if J.J. Watt can come here for a premium, so can Milton Williams. It's like, you want to make generational wealth and live in one of the best, economic climates, booming economic areas in the country, come do that. And then you got to entrust your football development to Gannon and Ossenfort. That's what it should be about.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. There was some movement. This was what we were going to lead the show with as far as wide receivers go out there pre-free agency. We're going to get into that conversation. Let's do it next here at PHNX Cardinals.
Cardinals, can they save money this free agency period? I sure as hell hope not, but I'm going to tell you where you can save money right now with our friends at Circle K by becoming a member of the Inner Circle. It's super easy. Download the app today. Just enter your email, your phone number, and you're fully enrolled. After that, all you need is your phone number to get the deal. Save 25 cents per gallon on your offer every day for the first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Plenty of other member-exclusive deals on deals to choose from. Thirst has officially met its match. I'm going to tell you right now, nothing's going to hit better than when we go into Circle K after the vice has been lifted, and I just do Stone Cold Steve Austin style, a couple of Polar Pops all over myself. It's going to be fantastic. I'm probably going to be asked to leave. It's going to be worth it, and I'm going to be saving money. Thirst has met its match. Join the inner circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
It's March here in the Valley of the Sun, and you're going all over the place. East Valley, West Valley, Central. You're going to spring training games. You're going downtown to some Suns games. You got some events you want to go to, and you might think, hey, I might have a drink or two. I don't want to get behind the wheel. So why don't you get yourself a Waymo? We love our friends over at Waymo. Like you head to the airport like we did last week. Get yourself to and from there easily with, of course, Waymo. Going on right now. It's the ride-hailing service that consists entirely of all-electric Jags in the I-Pace vehicles, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for all of their riders, including myself, Johnny Venerable, and Damon. 150,000 trips per week across San Fran, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. I saw Arch Manning is repping Waymo. Getting in on the NILs. Waymo. We love Waymo. 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. Just download the app right now. Try it out if you haven't already. Request that ride, and then, of course, ride to your destination in style. Download the Waymo One app and ride today.
Drop a like. We already got almost 500 people watching live. Likes help the show exponentially, and also helps by becoming a diehard. Go PHNX.com. No better time to become a diehard than now. Check out Fran Duffy's work. Fran's going to join us right around the corner. His draft eval of Shamar Stewart. What does he got to say? Cardinals held a top 30 visit with a guy who had 1.5 sacks last year. But we're going to
the year before that.
Who has been productive is Christian Kirk. Once upon a time here in Arizona, he was a second-round draft pick of Steve Keim, and subsequently left as a free agent, signed a deal that paid him over $20 million per season, $37 million in guaranteed from Trent Baalke and the Jaguars. Jacksonville, which we kind of alluded to 2 months ago when we did our perfect offseason, cut Christian Kirk today. Knew that they wouldn't get any takers, and the 27-year-old subsequently now is available on the open market, which leads a lot of Cardinals, ourselves, to connect the dots. Would Christian Kirk be worth bringing back? I think you already know where Bo and I stand. The Cardinals are going to have competition, but you talk about veteran prowess, familiarity with Kyler Murray, plays underneath, right? Has almost been an exclusive slot receiver for Jacksonville, and then still has that top-end speed. I saw a lot of people being snarky on the Twitter street saying, oh, the clip you showed is from 5 years ago. Go check his stats. He's got a better yards per catch the last 2 years than he ever had in Arizona. Bo, your thoughts on Kirk being released?
Yeah, I mean, he just is an unfortunate cap casualty. It's going to save the Jags some money. And, they might be eyeing a certain University of Arizona wide receiver in the draft. They might just be looking to get younger at the position, cheaper at the position. They like what they saw from BTJ, and they've got to make some big-time moves now that they've got Trevor Lawrence's bulky contract on the books going forward. So Christian Kirk just becomes one of those veteran cap casualties. And, I think there's the next team that signs him, hopefully it's the Arizona Cardinals, is going to benefit from that. And he's in a different stage in his career. Like when he signed the deal with the Jags, he was going to go out, hit the open market, and make as much money as he possibly could. And credit to him and his representation. He cashed in, it was initially, $72 million with an earning potential of $84 million. People were blown away by that deal. I mean, they thought Christian Kirk was going to be able to cash in free agency. They did not expect that much money. And then he goes in and he makes the Jaguars look smart with his first 1,000-yard receiving season of his career after coming close for the Cardinals. I think it was about 900 yards, but just being an absolute monster in the slot. And when you look at what the Arizona Cardinals need, to couple with Trey McBride over the middle of the field is a speedy, slot receiver that also has, some solid yak ability. So like you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. primarily running out of the X on the outside, and you got Michael Wilson also outside of the Z. I think that you could, no doubt about it, upgrade at the slot position. No disrespect to our guy, Greg Dortch. I think Christian Kirk becomes a big time middle of the field playmaker, that would be a huge boost to this offense.
I mean, I don't want to say it makes too much sense not to happen. You never know. Like he's going to have a market. I think Buffalo, I think Washington potentially reuniting with Cliff Kingsbury. Jaden Daniels needs an underneath receiver. Like,
not anymore. I mean, they got Debo. I mean,
that's right.
They run the same
about that. So yeah, they're probably maybe looking at a draft pick. So I still think it'll be competitive. The Chargers need wideouts. We're going to talk about the landscape of the receiver position changing by the hour here.
Maybe as a play, I know CD runs a lot in the slot, but I could see Dallas as players for Christian Kirk.
Again, though, like Milton Williams, it's like, guess where Christian Kirk's going to go? Probably the team that pays him the most money. And if Christian Kirk has an opportunity to come back and play in Arizona, where he grew up in Chandler. Where'd he go to high school, Damon?
Saguaro
High School. So
sorry, Damon.
I just assumed Damon knew that. I think he did. But people are pushing back saying that Christian Kirk's mom, before he left, went on Reddit and agreed with a take that Kyler Murray didn't get him the ball enough. If you are basing Christian Kirk's ability to come back off of a Reddit post from his mom 3 years ago, I got a bridge to sell you. In the words of our guy, Jordan Schultz. To me, it's like, I'm sure that if there are issues with he and Kyler Murray, they can be amended. That was a different regime, a different head coach, a different time. If the Cardinals like, hey, Christian, we'd love for you to come play for us. Here's a 2-year deal. Here's $25 million spread out over 2 years or whatever it is, $20 million with $12 million guaranteed. And it's the best offer he's got. Guess what he's taken? We know definitively too. We talked to some people at the Combine, Bo, and I wanted to save this for the show. I didn't want to put it out there on Twitter, exclusive to this audience.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals have kicked around the idea of signing a big-time free agent wide receiver. They're at least broaching that, depending on the situation.
Yeah. And look, if you, I've seen this a couple of times. It's been in my mentions on Twitter. Like there's this idea that Christian Kirk doesn't have a good relationship with Kyler Murray. There was a story last year, beginning of the season, because they were playing Buffalo week 1, about these conversations that Kyler Murray and Josh Allen had. Kyler and Josh Allen connected during the offseason. It was at Christian Kirk's wedding. Like, if there's some sort of like tension or anything, you're not inviting Kyler Murray to your wedding.
You're not saying, I hate that guy. Set him to save the date.
I mean, I'm sure Christian Kirk isn't pinching pennies like we all did as far as our respective weddings, and we were making tough cuts as far as the who makes the guest list. But no, I don't think that there's any ill will between the quarterback and his former wide receiver. And I think he would, at this stage, like, he got away. He grew up here. He started in high school. He went off to Texas A&M, came back, and then went back out professionally and made his money. Still has an opportunity to make some more money, but, would you want to maybe come back home and maybe finish your career? I think that would be alluring to a guy like Christian Kirk.
CBK asking the question, or the statement rather, there's got to be a better option, in my opinion. Be careful what you wish for, because outside of the last 24 hours with a flurry of news, this free agent wide receiver class, now sans T. Higgins, is ass. It's not good. I could make an argument. This list we're going to show you is the best of the best. And these were players that recently became available. Look at the free agent wide receiver list. It's got Chris Godwin atop it. It's not very good. But how about this? Notable wide receivers. How about this fire graphic from our guy, Damon Dawg? Notable wideouts available. All but DK Metcalf are free agents right now. Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, Tyler Lockett, and then Metcalf, which we can celebrate this. He's not coming to Arizona, but he will, sounds like, be traded out of Seattle. So pour one out for the Seahawks passing game. Sans Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I look at this. I mean, this is a pretty good start. If the Cardinals could sign any one of those 3 first players.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that I only want the first 2. I don't think Lockett at this stage in his career, 32 years old. No, I mean, he catches the ball and falls down. I just think that he's maximized what he can do at the pro level.
He's toast?
I think he is. And then like Metcalf is not. I know you weren't saying he was an option. I just don't. So Adams, he's probably going to end up Do you view the Cardinals as, because he plays the same position as Marv? I don't know if
No,
it's
I'm just saying, just pointing out like notable wide receivers that have become available.
And I'm not turned off by Kirk's numbers here. I mean, that was in 8 games, and he missed the bulk of his 8th. He was productive, and half those games had over 50 yards receiving at least, in 50% of his games last year. The yards per reception are, the second highest on this. I think Christian Kirk would be a good buy low free agent ad for the Cardinals.
I know that people are saying draft and develop. I just feel like the Cardinals have done that the last 2 years. They need a veteran. They need a guy who's seen some things in the league, that has an ability to be moved around a little bit. And you want to do that with Marv and Michael Wilson anyway, but like the Cardinals backup quarterback situation, they would benefit from somebody who's seasoned, that could come in and help this offense. Somebody that helps our show each and every time we bring him on. Fran Duffy, right around the corner, the latest ahead of the draft. It's PHNX Cardinals. But first, the latest hotspot this weekend ahead of free agency. How about an appetizer? It's the Phoenix Raceway. NASCAR returns to the Phoenix Raceway March 7th through the 9th. Join us as the stars of NASCAR battle it out for the Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway. There's nothing like it, folks. Witnessing the stars of NASCAR battle 200 miles per hour on this oval mile raceway in the foothills tucked away in the Phoenix Mountains. Fantastic. 40 drivers will compete with the likes of, Chase Elliott, ever heard of him? Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, and then, of course, my guy. I stand for him in his red and yellow. 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Joey Logano, is in town. It's the best-in-class fan experience the whole family will not forget. Get your tickets now, phoenixraceway.com.
Love that. Can't wait to get out to the track out there in the Estrella Mountains. Also can't wait to get some delicious za from Spinatos. What an electric Suns victory last night. Connor Gillespie knocking it in for the win for the Sunnies, and hopefully you're enjoying it, watching the game at, of course, your headquarters, the official partner of the Suns, Spinato. So you can get there and you can win big by playing their version of horse, which is called Pizza. Instead, it's pizza. Check them out right now. You got parties and watch parties and contests that you can take part in if you're a big-time Suns fan, or you just love delicious pizza. Bring my family there once a week. My kid gets the Kevin McAllister, just strictly cheese special, and me and my wife, we get a spicy Italian. We love it. Get all the info on the watch parties and Pizza basketball contest at SpinatosPizzeria.com. You can also order your pizza to be delivered from the closest Spinatos location to you. Spinatos, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns.
The official draft analyst expert. Read his work right now. Go PHNX.com. ALLCITY, Mr. Franchise Mode himself. It's Fran Duffy joining the program. Hopefully got back safely. He did from, I don't know if I call it sunny Indianapolis, but it was functional, right? How was your time in Indy, Mr. Fran Duffy?
I mean, look, it's all relatives. It's not Phoenix. It's not as sunny as where you guys are at, but I would say contextually, yeah, for what a typical trip is in Indy, it wasn't too bad weather-wise. Uneventful for the most part trip home. I was telling Bo Wolf yesterday, mid-flight, guy goes full extension, but leans all the way back in my seat, like crushes the laptop, like violent collision, no look back.
Oh my God.
Right? So
straight to jail.
It's been a long week. I went full 2-hand shove, pushing the guy back, and it was the guy that looked back. It was an incident, but we got through it.
You showed off some really solid explosiveness as far as that goes in reaction. Yeah, we got to revisit, I think, as a country, our airplane etiquette and look at what constitutes putting that old seat back and recline. But speaking of explosiveness, we had a great conversation with you. Post defensive linemen, edge rushers, linebackers working out on Friday. I encourage people to check it out. The rest of your time you spent in Indianapolis, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and yesterday too, right? Did you stay through Monday?
I stayed. So drills ended Sunday. I left Monday morning.
Okay.
So yeah, we stayed through.
What were the highlights of the final couple days there for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, being able to see the DBs on Friday, I would say the big highlight for me was Nick Emanwari, the safety from South Carolina, a guy that I was very high on coming through the process. I was expecting that he was going to test like an alien, and that's exactly what he did. He tested like an alien on Friday. So he matched expectations there. I thought Malachi Starks had a really good position workout as well. I know the testing wasn't as impressive, but all the tracking numbers looked really good on Malachi Starks. So I thought he was able to check the box through that event. Going through the offensive skill players on Saturday, a number of guys really stood out. I was focused in on the wide receivers. All of our viewers for PHNX, they can go and check out all of my notes on every single workout. I wrote like a quick blurb on every single player that's up in the draft guide now. So you can just go and there's a bullet point there, from the report. And then offensive lineman on Sunday. I mean, honestly, it was probably my favorite of all the workouts. I thought that was just a really clean workout from everybody involved. A number of guys really stood out.
It was announced or reported today by NFL Network's Tom Pelissaro, Fran, Texas A&M freak show, Shamar Stewart is going to visit the Cardinals today. So they're using officially a top 30 visit on the Texas A&M product. We've talked about him previously with you. 1.5 sacks every year at A&M. But the more people we talk to, it's like usage wasn't great. What does the tape tell you? Does the tape tell you that whether the Cardinals trade up for him or he fell to 16, is this somebody that Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawls could eventually get double-digit sacks from?
Yeah, I think that he has that skill set to be used in that way, right? And where that you look at the end of the day, the whole is less than the sum of the parts, right? I think when you're watching Shamar Stewart, where you see the size, you see the length, you see that explosiveness, you see that ability to come off the ball, but it just doesn't result in production. Even you mentioned 1.5 sacks. His hurries jumped up this year, but when you look at his pass rush win rate over the course of his career, you look at his pressure rate over the course of his career, and not even just over the 3-year sample, but even just looking at last year, it was on third down where you can take. That's the thing is when you look at like usage and things like that, you could say, all right, like, hey, on first down, they line him up snug to the formation, and maybe he's playing with a tighter alignment. So, he's not always asked to just get after the quarterback with a runway. But on third down, most third downs, all right, it's going to pin your ears back and go, right? I mean, his pressure rate on third down was 14.2%. That's in the 20th or below percentile of all edge rushers drafted in the last decade. His third down win rate, 11.5%. That's in the below the 10th percentile of all pass rushers drafted in the last decade. And so when you're looking at Shamar Stewart, it's not just like sack production and that's it. I mean, 4.5 sacks in his career, but only 12 TFLs, only 65 tackles in 19 starts. There's just a guy that's not around the ball all that often. And so I do understand the willingness to want to try and bring him in. My guess is he will have one of the highest numbers of 30 visits amongst these prospects because everybody's going to want to try and get an extra look, at this guy. Now, when you look at Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort over the course of their tenure so far, 2 of their 3 first-round picks reported in for visits. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. This is all like based off my research. I don't believe they had Darius Robinson in last year for a visit as a first-round pick. And overall, only one day 2 pick that I've got, from my note, and I'm going off based off reports, but 1 out of 8 day 2 picks, and that was Max Melton in for a 30 visit, and only 3 of 10 day 3 picks in for a visit. So it's not a huge sign of like who ultimately gets their name called by Arizona, but the guy that they definitely want to do that extra work on.
Yeah, I think it was revealed in the post draft that Darius did make a visit to the Arizona Cardinals, but it was never reported previous to that. But yeah, I mean,
notes.
Shamar Stewart, I mean, does he even make it to 16 though? It seems like he's getting a lot of run just based off of how well he performed and how well he measured at the combine, which you were telling us like you expected that.
Yeah, I expected all of those like straight line numbers to be really, really strong, and they were. You look at the jumps, you look at the 40-yard dash, and what he did. I mean, 131, 11 feet in the broad is insane. He came just shy of 11 feet in the broad jump, 40 inches in the vert for a guy who's 267 pounds. I mean, that's unique athleticism, unique explosiveness. Now, he did not do any of the shuttles. He got hurt midway through the workout, so we don't know if he was planning on doing them or not. But one of the things that I saw watching him on film was this was a guy that did struggle to corner efficiently. This was not a guy that was like, dip the edge and turn the corner. And that can be an issue in terms of trying to finish. If you talk about like that lateral stiffness, that inability to kind of break down in space, it's not just about, like speed to turn the corner. That also can be, just having that athleticism to be able to break down and finish tackles one-on-one, which can, also explain away some of the lack of production as well. But look, guys, I'm almost done the first round of my my mock draft. I'm doing a 3-round post combine mock draft that'll be up on allphnx.com in the coming days. I don't have Stewart making it to the Arizona Cardinals. I do think when you look at his size and explosiveness that a team is going to bite relatively early in the draft, but it's a bet that I would struggle making personally.
Agreed. I think they're going to have really good choices up and down the defensive line. Let's switch to the offensive line, where I think the Cardinals with Jonah Williams likely in a contract year. Kelvin Beachum could be brought back, in need of a developmental right tackle. And it's a little murky right now, but some folks have suggested that Anthony Belton, the left tackle from North Carolina, is doing a top 30 visit with the Arizona Cardinals. What can you tell us about the kid out east, 6'6", 336 pounds? What's his, ceiling floor to be drafted? And do you feel like that could be a nice developmental piece for Monti Ossenfort?
Yeah, he was a player, watching him early at NC State that has like raw power and one of the more powerful players in this class. When you look at the offensive line, he has played both left tackle and right tackle. He played some guard at the Senior Bowl as well. So there's some position versatility there that will certainly be valuable. A little bit of a limited athlete. You saw that on film, saw that at the Senior Bowl, carried through the combine. So that was expected, but this is a player that just fully embraces the physical part of the game. I mean, he is tough. He is physical. He will try and torque defenders and finish them to the ground. I think that his mindset is something that will play well with JG and with that staff. And again, the fact that he could slide in to play guard, I think that will serve him well early on if a team is trying to see could he be the right tackle down the road as well. So I think when you look at Anthony Belton, you're probably looking as early as round 2, potentially round 3. But I think in this class, in this offensive tackle group, I do think he'll get off the board before pick 64.
Let's switch but stay at the same position, but we'll go local here, and then we'll get into some other local products. But Jonah Sabananea had a pretty impressive showing. Also had some high RAS scores. What's your take on the kind of versatile offensive lineman at University of Arizona?
Yeah, he was a player studying him last summer for the first time, Bo. I really saw like a high floor. This was a guy that I thought didn't have a lot of huge holes in his game, more strong than powerful. And the way that I would explain that, the way that a strength coach had explained this to me years ago, and it always kind of stuck with me. If you think of it as water, right, in different phases, a waterfall is power. You think of like water, like rushing at you, like that's going to move everything in its path. Right. And then you have a glacier like ice. That's just strong. You're not going to be able to move that. He is more strong than powerful. He's not a guy that's going to blow people off the ball. Like Belton is mash people off the ball in the run game. He's going to be able to create his own movement. Whereas Sabananea, I think that he is more of he's going to take on contact and hold his ground really well in pass protection. He has played some left tackle. He has played some right guard. He's played in a couple different stances for a couple of different offenses. So, he is a guy I think that you could offer some position versatility. You offer some scheme versatility. I think he's got solid athleticism. He tested well, as you mentioned. I mean, at 324, to break 5 flat in the 40-yard dash, 172 in the 10-yard split. The jumps were solid. The short shuttle was solid. So I think when you're looking at Sabananea, this is a player that has some athletic upside, that the position versatility, you feel good about the character. You're just like checking every box along the way. He didn't blow me away at the Senior Bowl. I thought he had a solid week, but it wasn't like an earth-shattering week. But I think at the end of the day, it just kind of fit the profile where it was like, okay, unspectacular, but solid. I just feel good about him being an NFL starter.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks here. We talked to you Friday. Cam Scattaboo had not yet worked out.
Yep.
And he only participated in 2 drills?
The jumps.
Man, oh man, did he show out in the 2 drills he participated in? What are your thoughts on the young man's vertical jump? And how do you think, could it streamline him maybe a round or 2 above where you initially had him? Because I know we talked about it. It's like maybe end of day 2. Is Scattaboo creeping up for you, Fran?
He jumped up 8 spots in my rank. No, I didn't move him too much. Look, I think at the end of the day, I like Cam Scottaboo a lot. Actually, Adam Hogan and I talked about him a lot on the All NFL show. We did our draft preview of the entire running back position. So I did a deep dive on Scottaboo and a lot of the other top players in this class. And, basically what I said there was that I feel so good about his transition to the NFL. I think that he's going to be a player that he's going to play for 10 years. I feel really, really strong that Scottaboo is going to play in the league for a long time. I don't know what the overall upside is. I could see like what it could be. I believe if anyone's going to max out what he's got, it's going to be him. I just don't. I think that in terms of like range of outcomes, I feel most safe that he is going to be more of like an RB2 as opposed to an RB1, and probably more on like the RB2, RB3 side of that ledger as opposed to like the RB1, RB2 side of that ledger, if that makes sense. So I think when you're looking at Scottaboo, look, I feel good about him being able to help out in pass pro. Pass game. Outstanding receiver. I just let the dynamic athleticism, that next level, like make you miss ability that's kind of missing there in terms of creating his own yardage, but he's super strong and could fill a number of different roles for a backfield.
Well, good news, Fran. The Cardinals used a 3rd-round pick last year on a tight end 3. So that tracks. No issue with that.
Oh, and look, because Tip Ryman, he blew the combine up, right? And he was the guy that that had all those all the test scores, and so that's when if Scottaboo ends up doing stuff in his pro day and he blows up the pro day, maybe that puts him in that range.
Let's get into the player, the prospect out of Arizona that is going to probably go the highest, Tetairoa McMillan. He didn't work out, but just from your conversations with some of your peers and what you were hearing on the indie streets, Peter Schrager's saying today he's hearing that T-Mac's not getting out of the top 10. Yeah,
I heard mixed reviews, in terms of just talking with people around the league. And, some people feel really strongly that kind of what Schrager said there, where, he's going to go as high as 6. Like I think that's the early spot for McMillan, and keeping in mind that Tetairoa McMillan played for Las Vegas Raiders offensive coordinator Brennan Carroll at Arizona before that staff moved on to Washington in 2024. And that was his most productive year, was 2023, playing for Brennan Carroll in that offense. And so, there's a familiarity there that if the Raiders stay, let's say, and to me, like that could be a pick there if they don't go with, say, Ashton Genty in that spot. So I would say that's the ceiling. After that, it's tough. Could he go number 12 to the Dallas Cowboys? I think that give him a running mate for CeeDee Lamb. Certainly when you get into the 20s, that's where like that receiver run, I think, really starts to pick up. You start talking about Pittsburgh and Tampa and some of these other teams. But it was kind of tough for me to find a spot that I felt really good about with McMillan once I got into like the middle of the round with my mock draft. So he fell a little bit later than I was anticipating when I was going through my exercise. But he's a tough one to figure out because some feel, hey, you know what? He might be like the 3rd best receiver in this class. He might fall to the latter stages of the 1st round. But then again, you might talk to somebody else who says, "Oh no, he's a top 10 lock."
Charles Davis, is he taking crazy pills? He's got Jackson Dart going top 5. We watched Jackson Dart throw, and I think it benefited him to throw. Fran, interested to hear your opinion. Shedeur Sanders, depending on who you talk to, might be turning some people off. Cam Ward feels a lock to be the first quarterback taken. QB2, is it up for grabs?
I do think it's up for grabs. The way I was on with Zach Stevens and DNVR earlier this week, as I was getting home from the combine on Monday, and he asked me essentially the same question, was like, all right, like could he? And it was under the guise of, all right, well, could Jackson Dart sneak into the top 19 and bump another player down for the Denver Broncos at 20? And essentially that's what you're hoping for, right? If you're the Cardinals, you're hoping that another quarterback goes in and slides somebody down. I feel leaving after, and look, this was a huge, as it always is, quarterback is a huge topic of conversation when you're talking with people in Indianapolis at the combine. A lot of mixed reviews with Shedeur. And honestly, there was a lot of the more people I talked to felt that there was a better chance that only one quarterback goes in the top 20 as opposed to 3 quarterbacks going in the top 20. And that's not to say that Shedeur is definitely not going to be QB2. But I agree. Johnny, you set it up like, Cam Ward, QB1, could go as high as number 1 if like the Giants were to trade up. If he doesn't feel like he's going to go any later than 2 based off reporting from everybody that's out there. So I think that Cam Ward locked for the top 3, top 2. And then it's going to be a matter of like, are teams kind of floating smoke screens out with Shedeur Sanders? It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. It's only 50 days until the draft, but it's going to feel like 100 when it comes to that discussion.
Your first mock draft, it was one round. You had the Cardinals taking A&M pass rusher Nick Scorton.
Yeah.
Just a little hint, or can you tell us is it the pick different in tomorrow's mock?
It is going to be different. And I'm going to be honest, I struggled. And I want to get your guys' thoughts here because I was picking your brains about this when we were out in Indy, and I was like, all right, like if these edge rushers, I'm not sure that any of them that were probably going to be there because I didn't feel like Shamar Stewart was going to be there. I didn't feel like Walter Nolan was going to be there. I didn't think Monti Williams was going to be there. I didn't think Jalen Walker was going to be there. And so as I'm sitting here, I'm like, all right, like, what are the other options? Who are the best players available? Would safety make sense? You guys were like, no. How about offensive line? And we're like, maybe potentially, right? And so that could be a sleeper. I ended up going with linebacker Jahad Campbell from Alabama, and I don't. Hear me out here. So my thought process is that number one, I think he fits all of like the makeup stuff. For JG and that staff. I think that he plays the position the right way. He's got flexibility. I think that multiplicity will help him in that kind of a front. He can come down, he can play. It's kind of like what you're talking about with Jalen Walker, and then he can do a lot of these different things. But I was struggling. That was the first one. I was like, man, I would love to be able to do a trade back here. And honestly, like it's still in the cards here as I'm putting together this first round.
You know who loves hearing off-ball linebacker at 16? Ba-ba-ba-bam. No, I listen to that, Fran Duffy, and it's like, the Cardinals need to start learning Sweaty J with the outline that you just formatted. It's like, Josh Sweat might be overpaid, but he's truly available come next week. Whereas you don't know, to your point, on a lot of these guys. So I'm with you. Like, it's a strong defensive line class. I struggle thinking teams are going to take a tight end from Penn State before one of these stud defensive linemen, like last year, where it was an elite offensive class and we didn't have a defender taken until the middle of the first round. So I don't think you're crazy. And I think the Cardinals need to be prepared for that. And that starts next week. Check out his work right now. Go PHNX.
Sorry he did that to you, Fran.
That was so good. That was Milton Williams' agent, right? That you guys flashed up there?
Yeah. Get out. How dare you? Hopefully we're talking to you next week and we're having a little celebratory party that Milton Williams is a Cardinal and all of our dreams are going to come true. And then whatever the draft's going to be gravy. It's just whatever we get, we're happy with. We're content. Right. Fran, you're the best, my guy. Talk to you soon.
We'll talk next week, guys.
Fran Duffy, the franchise mode. Read his work right now. His player evaluation, second to none. Go PHNX.com. Speaking of defensive line, Bo Brack caught up with Darius Robinson today. Fired up to hear from D-Rob, plus your super chats, plus more from free agency. That's coming up. I'll tell you what else is coming up. Great times at our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We've got so much good stuff going on with Gila right now behind the scenes. I wish we could tell you, but in the meantime, check them out right now. They've got watch parties. If you dare to watch the Phoenix Suns, we've got tremendous watch parties going on with Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We've got hotel rooms, restaurants, casinos, rooftop setup. It's unbelievable. I was talking to my wife. I was like, you know what? I don't really want to leave the state. My kids got spring break coming up. It's like, where can we go for an elite weekend, a night out? Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Wild Horse Pass. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details or check out the link in the description below.
Love it. Achieve legendary status there. That's a great call, by the way. Just down out of Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You got to smell fresh, though, for it. You can't just be smelling like a dirty dog. You got to get yourself smelling real nice with our friends over at Mando, the men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of the man's body smelling fresh and so clean. That's right. Every aspect. Check it out with Mando. Man overly calls out the more colorful parts of man's bodies, like the pits, the bellies, the belly buttons, the balls, the butt cracks, and the grundles, and so much more. We can get even more colorful with it. Why do that? You know what I'm getting. I'm driving the point home. If you stink, Mando's here to help you out. And get $5 off a starter pack with the code PHNX. That's right. We're saving you some money. We're helping you smell a little bit better. Check out Mando today. Mando starter pack's perfect for new customers. It comes in a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Go to shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO, and please support our show and tell them that we at PHNX Cardinals sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Johnny?
Hey, Mando. Hey, everybody in the chat. We got 600 people watching live. Smash the like button. I'm going to give some love on Twitter. Maybe this ease a lot of concerns out there with old Steve Keim sniffing around free agency. AZ Jace on Twitter wrote to me and said Milton Williams' agent is Martin Fishman, who worked with Belengi Football, and the group was acquired by Clutch Sports in September in 2024 when Steve Keim was hired. So his agent is not Steve Keim, Milton Williams. And he's been with this agent before Clutch Sports inherited his former group, right? They were bought out or they merged or whatever. And I think that's great. What I don't love is Keim going on national TV today talking about Milton Williams. Keep Milton Williams out of your mouth, Steve Keim, in the words of Will Smith. Stop.
That's right.
Stop.
I love the detective work from Jace. Absolutely love it. I think you butchered the name of his former agency. That was
I knew when I was reading it. How do you pronounce that?
I was trying to find the tweet myself.
Here, you want me to read it to you again?
Yeah.
Oh, I lost it.
Good job.
Whoops.
We'll never know.
This is good podcasting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not gonna put him through this hell any longer. But no, like that's good, right? And like his main agent, that's what matters. Like Steve Keim's role for Clutch is general manager of Clutch Sports. So, he might be involved, but he's not going to at the end of the day, make the decision for Milton Williams. It's going to come down to Milton Williams and his agent.
Sigh of relief, maybe a little bit. We're going to be, we'll talk about free agents. We got our top free agent list that I want to run through again before the end of the show. Plus, we've got a major announcement coming up here on the show. But you got a chance to catch up with Darius Robinson today. And anybody who's watching on one of our many streaming partners, you're not going to want to miss this. D-Rob, candid on 2024 into 2025. Jump on over to gophnx.com. Again, 600 people watching live. Get to YouTube and smash that like button. Bo, what did the Cardinals first rounder have to say today?
Well, it was cool. We were out at Desert Harbor Elementary School. The Cardinals have been participating in this reading event all week long. Michael Wilson caught up with him earlier this week. You can find some of those clips on my Twitter at Bo Brock. But he was out there today reading to the kids, chopping it up, having a good time with Cardinals cheerleaders in Big Red. It was a cool event. And then we got to catch up with him. And, Darius Robinson, after he was drafted in this organization, after he suffered the calf injury the week leading up to week 1, he was kind of became an enigma. Like we didn't know too much about him. He was just kind of gone, trying to, rehab the injury. And then, of course, the tragic passing of his mom was so terrible and sad. And it just compounded his inability to get back onto the playing field. And Jonathan Gannon admitted to us last week at the Combine, during his press conference, that D-Rob was never fully healthy. But, people were kind of questioning, like what was the organization doing for D-Rob? And it really sounds like Gannon and Monty and Nick Rawlis stepped up. And this was Darius Robinson just on his head coach.
During my thing when I was dealing with the stuff with my mom, like the way he would be really caring, allowed me to go back to Detroit and then come back for rehab. Like that's why like him and Nick, like they got my ultimate respect, and that's why I'm so focused on being the best player for them, so I can show them why they drafted me and prove to them like I was a good pick for us. And now they're just like the best, always like caring, like just real respective guys that I'll always like be in debt to. So I'm just super excited for them. But I love JG.
You love to hear that. And you really do. And Gannon and Rawlis and those guys, they play everything tight to the vest, and their interactions with players, especially with something as so touchy as losing a family member. When people are kind of trying to make a big deal out of it, it's just like let first Darius Robinson, respect his privacy at this time, because that's what his coaching staff was trying to do. They were protecting him throughout last season, but behind the scenes, D-Rob paints a picture of just who you want to be the head coach and kind of in command of your organization, making sure he had everything he needed during those tough times.
Yeah, if you need another reason to be excited about your head coach and your defensive coordinator, and I know there were a lot of people publicly that were frustrated. Where's D-Rob? Why is he not playing? I know the Cardinals were frustrated on when that news came out, when Darius, went down initially. I think the whole thing probably could have been handled better by a lot of people externally, because when you consider what he went through from an injury standpoint and then subsequently losing his mother, he deserves all the grace in the world. And I'm glad the Cardinals gave him that. And it represents the kind of franchise that I want to follow and root for with the people involved. Because at the end of the day, guys, he's a human being. He's not just a football player. And our audience knows that. I'm not lecturing you guys on that.
Right.
But here's what I also know. He was their best defensive player in training camp last year. Like we saw with our own eyes. We talked about it. Like B.J. Ojulari and Darius Robinson, those injuries shifted the landscape of the Cardinals defense last year that still finished 15th, by the way. But, I mean, my concern with Darius this year, and I know he's going to talk about it as it relates to what he expects of himself. I just don't want to put too much pressure on this kid. Let him come in and be a football player. Gannon said it's really his rookie season 1.5. That's why, again, not to beat a dead horse here. That's why I think a guy like Milton Williams, you bring him in, you pay a guy big money. Those are the expectations. And then you're like, oh yeah, by the way, we have this stud kid we took out of Missouri, and you can let him develop. One of the biggest issues with the Cardinals draft and develop approach under Ossenfort for 2 years is it's just put too much pressure on some of these rookies. Now, some have flourished, and other guys, they just need a little bit more seasoning. So I think Darius, to me, injuries notwithstanding, is going to be a hell of a Cardinal. He's going to be a big-time player.
Talked about being a red shirt year, in JG saying season 1.5 next year. I asked him about that and his expectations for next season.
JG said you were never fully healthy last season. He's looking at next year as kind of year 1.5. Is that your standpoint too?
Yeah, I tell people I feel like I got redshirted. Like, in college, that redshirt year, then you come back. So, I just think of my rookie year as my redshirt year. So that means year 2 got to be crazy. So that's why I'm just focusing on my daily habits, lifting weights, getting stronger, faster, and just all the details right now.
The way he understands, right? He says, like, if I'm basically sitting out the bulk of my rookie season, means I got to show up and show out in year 2. He feels, not the pressure, but the expectations in order to do so. Also, speaking of expectations and first round picks, just like Darius Robinson, we've heard from Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon and how Marvin Harrison Jr. has been at the facility every day since the end of the season. It tapped into his teammate about what his coaches and general manager were saying about him.
Monty said that since the end of the season, Marv's been at the facility every day. You mentioned you're at the facility. You trying to match what MHJ's doing?
He don't take no vacations though. I took a vacation for sure. I went out the country twice, but Marvin, he don't take vacations, so that's why he up right now. But we working each and every day, bro. He's a tremendous player. He's like always there. It's like I always have to catch myself, okay, what can I do extra? Because I know Marvin's going to do something extra every day. So, he's a great player. He stayed later because he'd be in the indoor doing some work. So I was like, okay, he's doing receiver extra work. Okay, what D-line extra work I can do? And that's what it's like being around great players in our organization. They always push other players to be even better. So, yeah, it's super exciting seeing Marvin and see where we can go next season.
I mean, you could make an argument those two players outside of Kyler Murray could have the biggest impact on the Cardinals making the postseason. We know the expectations for Marvin. If Darius is the player we saw last year through 17 games, it's like Cardinals are going to have a disruptive force. And I think also his versatility up front, like he can play a little bit of DN too. So you don't have to necessarily force a pick there. If you want to go double dip on defensive tackles, like you can move him around. He's such a weapon. And you hear him, he's such a high character guy too. So I'm give me all the stock on D-Rob, all the stock on Marvin Harrison Jr., and big expectations. I mean, I can't wait to see those guys at training camp and just the maturation process, just physically with both those guys that are already big-time freak shows. I mean, if you haven't checked it out already, Kyler Murray posted on his YouTube page some offseason stuff, and it's got Marvin Harrison Jr. looking like the biggest freak show playing basketball. I mean, it's just the Cardinals have been lacking athletes of this caliber for a long time.
Yeah, I told myself I wasn't going to freak out over any kind of like off-season hype videos, and here I am, loving every second of it. It's unbelievable, like insight from the Cardinals franchise quarterback via his YouTube page. Giving us behind the curtain glimpse of him working out, what training regimen him and Buddy Morris kind of go through, and then the guys hooping it up, chopping it up, trash talking, and seeing the Marv, Trey McBride, Michael Wilson freak show on display. And then kind of the end of that, if we're going to talk about the video, is just like Kyler admitting like the frustrations he's had, not being able to break through, and how it's going to be that much sweeter when they do, that going through all these trials and tribulations, that it's going to make breaking through and getting to the next level feel that much better.
I saw people being critical of his comments, and like on one hand, you could say like, well, yeah, go out and prove it. But I mean, he's admitting he's got to be better. Like what,
right.
I guess like what more do people want? Like, does him coming out and admitting that he wasn't good enough and that then he needs to be more consistent with his play? Like, does that matter in the end? I think he's got self-awareness. I think he had self-awareness that was high level last year.
Yeah.
It's about execution. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I also feel like you can't knock a guy for coming out and admitting what a lot of people are saying, what this show has commented on. And while I'm skeptical, because this is year 7, I'm going to root for him to play well because he's the quarterback and he's earned it and he's their best option. And if he pulls through, awesome. Then let's keep this train moving. And if he falters, this franchise, the GM and the head coach have enough cachet to potentially pivot. But I mean, you see the way he acts with Marvin and Trey and Michael Wilson, like there's continuity there. They talked about being close on and off the field. Now it's just about execution. And when Gannon spoke to us last week about it, it was just literally like he emphasized it was one of the best clips he had. Just this stuff takes time. And nobody wants to hear that because we got rookies and NFC championship games. But on the flip side, certain guys in their career, they have to overcome things. Alex Smith, once upon a time, had to overcome a bad head coach and get Jim Harbaugh and then go to Kansas City, right? Jared Goff had a second act, his better act right now in Detroit. Stafford bouncing around. Like, I mean, Kyler needs to own his faults, and he has, but he was also held back by ownership, team building, general manager, oftentimes head coach. So this is the best chance he's going to get to succeed. And he's got self-awareness to admit that.
Yeah, what is it? Gannon says he takes the arrow to the forehead, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest compliments that the head coach can give. And that's just basically saying he's a self-aware guy, willing to be accountable for, what he's doing, the work he's putting in. Is it enough? And obviously the performance and looking back at the performance and where you can kind of improve. So good glimpse into that from Kyler Murray's YouTube page. So yeah. What else do you want to get into here? Are we
Well,
done
we
with
got
mock draft?
one super chat to read.
Okay.
And then we're going to get out of here on a big time announcement. We'll push our mock draft to tomorrow. If that's
like that.
cool. Yeah. I don't hate it either. There's too much free agent news going on. I love it. Super chat from our guy, Brian. Brian, a great follow on Twitter as well. $5. Could Cards go with someone like Isaac Tesla, 6'4", crazy high, RAS score, slot guy, likely late round, or is word they want a vet? Well, they want a vet. Doesn't mean that they'll get one. It could be a notable vet like Christian Kirk. It could be, another kind of fly on the wall or throwing something at the wall like Zay Jones. They've got Xavier Weaver that they took last year, and they'll see what he looks like in year 2. But, at the end of the day, I think there are some options there. I wouldn't discount anything.
No, I mean, I think once they start to fill in these needs, like the biggest needs in free agency and in the first 2-3 rounds of the draft, then you could start to look really at any position, because like what we've heard from Gannon, what we've heard from Ossenfort, what we've heard from people, like when you look at the success of the Philadelphia Eagles, is that they've got depth on depth. And that's what teams are trying to achieve here, and that they want to do that through the draft process. So if there's a position that they feel like they have that's got a full room, they're not going to shy away if they think that this is a player that can play for them down the road.
Major show announcement coming up. You're not going to miss this one. It's PHNX Cardinals. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends at Cornbread Hemp, America's first ever USDA organic CBD company. Their mission at Cornbread is to improve your quality of life with the highest quality of hemp. Fantastic. Check them out right now. Organic CBD gummies. They've got the best organic CBD gummies in the United States, the highest quality, full spectrum gummies on the market. They help with stress relief. You need a better recovery. I'm always looking for this better sleep, right? This is what sets them apart. Again, made only from flour. Again, third-party lab tested, right? Vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free. None of that other trash like artificial flavors or preservatives. You're putting something in your body that's not filled with a bunch of gunk. Cornbread offers free shipping and backs all products with their 30-day Better Life guarantee. Take Cornbread's 2-minute quiz to get custom recommendations for you. Again, aches, pains, sleep support, stress relief. Right now, check them out. Try with new listeners. PHNX is the bonus code, 30% off your first order. All you got to do, visit them, cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use the bonus code PHNX at checkout, 30% off. This, Bo, is the good life.
The good life is also getting yourself behind the wheel of a brand new vehicle from our friends over at Sanderson Ford. Proud to support all the local charities woven within the fabric of our great state and our great area of Phoenix, Arizona. Check them out on their West Valley, 65 glorious acres, including delicious diner. And if you're having some service work done on your vehicle, just hop in there, get a nice bite to eat, nice something cold to drink, and then get back in your ride and enjoy it. The vehicle of your dreams. Partnering up with St. Mary's Food Bank, the new Life Center, Special Olympics of Arizona, so many great causes, but also the best cause, one of the better causes too, is getting you in like maybe a brand new Broncos Big Sport Big Bend, the four-wheel drive that you want. Their vehicle inventory, it's always vast, and it's always going to have something you're looking for, and they thrive on their no hassle, no nonsense, no pressure sales approach. Check them out today. Of course, you can check out all the 2024 models, 2025 models. See dealer for details and get over to our friends over at Sanderson Ford. You could save up potentially as $4,800 off. They just had a bunch of great sales. Go check them out right now, Sanderson Ford.
Big thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thanks. We got over 600 people watching live. Like this video. You're going to want to watch live mañana. We talked about it. We like to bring on the best to get the best insight in season, out of season. Mina Kimes this past season, Brian Baldinger for 2 seasons, Michael Wilson, right? As a collective, Bo and Damon and I said, well, what about an NFL insider? What about somebody bringing the heat this offseason, free agency, and through the NFL draft? And Bo, I think we found that person.
We did. We connected last week in Indianapolis. Now we're going to connect throughout this offseason, including starting tomorrow. Our guy Mike Garafolo is going to join us here on PHNX Cardinals from NFL Network, the dialed-in NFL insider who actually had the Cardinals' first signing of the offseason last year, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and continues to break news as far as the Cardinals go and around the league. Excited to get Mike G on the show, Johnny.
He's one of the most tapped-in people, not only with the Cardinals, but within the NFL landscape. You want the skinny on Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, trades, acquisitions, who the Cardinals could be targeting at pick 16. We chatted with him off air last week. He knows the Cardinals. He knows this fan base. And now you're going to get to know him every other week. Plan accordingly for PHNX Cardinals, bringing you the heat. And that's tomorrow. On the eve of free agency, we got one of the best NFL insiders going, ready to dish on the Arizona Cardinals plans ahead of free agency. And hopefully we get some good news, Bo.
Yeah, I think, we will, as things are kind of materializing, as what this free agent market's going to look like. You only had 2 franchise tag players, and then you've got a bunch of guys who are signing extensions. And come the tampering period Monday morning, we should have some pretty good insight thanks to our guy Mike Garafolo and his team of insiders over there at NFL Network to help us kind of read the tea leaves and know which direction the Cardinals are going to go. I mean, especially on the heels of what we were able to learn last week in Indianapolis, just hearing the conversations and the rumors around there, the whispers around Indy or in this NFL scouting combine. So Mike Garafolo starts tomorrow. He's going to join us through the end of the NFL draft, and then we'll probably catch up with one more time after that. But excited to get his insight.
We're fired up for the next couple of days. If you're not already locked in, become a diehard. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Ring that bell, and we're fired up. Now, I'm gonna put my co-host on the spot right now because I didn't ask him. This is probably inappropriate, but I'm going to do it anyway. Free agency starts Monday. Any desire from the chat, from those watching at home, little Sunday night action, little Sunday night live stream, Cards After Dark?
You're a sick man. But look, I think there's a need for it. I like to we want to be full service. Don't turn your head around like that. We will let's do Sunday night. Let's do it.
Sunday bros and ladies hanging out here in the chat. Cards After Dark, the latest and the greatest, but we got 2 more shows. Let's book it. Everybody's saying they're in. Let's go. As we're getting gross. And it's hopefully a good time to be an Arizona Cardinal. This team's going to spin, and we're going to be here every step of the way. Big thanks to our guy, Fran Duffy, by the way. Still time for Fran to switch out his off-ball linebacker pick. We might have to talk to Fran off air.
Do you want me to have like an intervention with him and say, hey, look, this fan base has been through a lot.
Fran, you have 5 minutes? Just go in and manually change. Fran's like, who messed with my mock draft? Nobody messed with it. Nobody touched it. Hit that like button. Leave us a comment down below. Fired up for free agency. We sure as hell are. Big thanks to Damon, Dawg. He's Brack. I'm Johnny Venerable. What will tomorrow bring on Thursday? It's PHNX Cardinals. Mike makes his debut. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.